Oh, yeah, no, that's my fault. I told you to. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning. Definitely morning.
Hey, we're gonna get some moisture soon, so that's good.
I know. It's not, it's a promise.
As opposed to what?
Yes.
I see you got almost your tractor work done. I haven't even done mine because I still got sheep in mine.
Okay, so about that?
Well, I told him he needed to get them here as soon as he could, so I could get that off, so I could.
I got a kid doesn't do sports. He can get on there and just sit. I haven't.
Well, he's done a good job. That's
Yeah,
good. It's really nice. And it hasn't taken him long either. He just zoomed right through that.
Well, we had to go get a different, yes.
Memorized. Yes. Why the same?
What? She pulled out her thing and I told her to bring it. I know, but it's really.
Better than mine. I don't think they're getting to a house and I don't know their balance in that today.
Oh, really? Nice.
That's supposed to be
You have to hunt me down. What a sweetheart. Because you listen. That's no excuse. Hunt you down. Hey. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to commission meeting this first day of November, 2022. We welcome you to the commission meeting. With us this morning is our clerk auditor, Denny Mullen, legal counsel, Vaughn Christensen, Commissioner Tammy Pearson, Jim Lakeland, Stephanie Laws, and Commissioner Mark Whitney. I will be presiding. I miss Commissioner Hollingshead. Make sure we get Commissioner Hollingshead in there. So before we get into our business, I would ask legal counsel Vaughn Christensen if you would lead us in a prayer, and then Steph, or Ginger, excuse me, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be gathered today as elected officials and public servants of Beaver County. As we work through the business on today's agenda, may there be a spirit of goodwill. May we be mindful of the concerns of those who come before us and be able to make decisions that are in the best interest of all of the people. Father, bless our nation at this time as we gear up for fall elections, and people be civic-minded, be willing to go out and fulfill their duties and vote, participate in the political process, and make good and right decisions. Father, bless our nation and our state and the people of this county. We ask these blessings and express our gratitude for all that we've been doing. In the name of Jesus Christ.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ginger. Okay, if you both had a chance to review the minutes, they've been emailed and then presented to you folks this morning.
Yes.
If so, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the bills as presented.
I'll make one. Oh, bills or minutes?
Bills. Bills.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the bills.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Pearson, second by Commissioner Holliday. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Okay, let's go to the minute.
I think we go for it.
We did edits prior to, so they should be clean minutes.
I think everything that we have on there was.
What is your latest on your meeting on 153? You want to do that in your update, or? You got just a minute, let's go ahead and talk about it.
So
We're way ahead here.
we had another Highway 153 meeting, and hopefully we had everybody at the table this time. One of our concerns has been the contract had expired with, it used to be State Parks and UDOT, and now with the shift in administration and the cluster bill that put OHV and State Parks and everything under the DNR, the funding George Humphreys. And so, Chase came down, met with us in person, we had, so that's OHV, Wayne Morant, yeah, Wayne was there that day, the new UDOT guy, okay, what time is his name, what's his name?
I don't remember. Stand by, I can find it.
Is it for this region?
Yeah.
So Daryl France and, I was gonna say something, anyway, they both showed up.
Darn. He has a name and he goes by a side name.
Anyway, so we had this meeting Friday before our big storm. And they promised us that they would get the contracts done, that they would plow the road, that they would be right on top of that.
So are they or is anybody willing to commit some funds to build some more parking areas, or at this point?
That's still gonna be long range.
Okay, so you're working on that?
Yes.
Okay. And now, is that gonna come under UDOT, or will that come under Parks or OHV?
Well, the thing about it is everything that we're asking for is under the UDOT right away, right? UDOT seems to be unwilling to maintain the parking lot from the things that we already have. The other issue, which Forest Service really wants to do, is a lot of that stuff's gonna have to have NEPA, but it is in their plan, and they're working on NEPA. Forest Service will.
And it won't qualify as a categorical exclusion?
I don't know, depends on what all we have.
I think it would. They need to look at it, because that should be a categorical exclusion, especially as small as that area is gonna be.
Well, they're definitely looking at it.
Good.
I just don't know, you know, they have a big, Forest Service has a big plan, and it's all part of sheriff's stewardship, so.
Mont Aldridge is the name of the contract.
What is it, Jan?
Mont Aldridge.
Monty, Aldridge, yeah, thank you.
But yes, there was lots of conversation about how do we look at building out some of that parking availability. Some of that will probably fall back on my plate. There are some grants that we can write to facilitate building those out once we have those relationships and those MOUs or land exchange, whatever that needs to look like. There is grant funding that we can use to build those locations, and I'm going to be working closely with Commander Peely on that. So we'll get some things forward moving.
So, Senator Vickers has been at every one of those sheriff's stewardship meetings, so he's very aware of the issues that we've got going on. My next conversation was with Donna Law, and she's part of the funding and the appropriations committee for UDOT. So she was gonna come last week for the groundbreaking, and then we canceled that. But anyway, she's coming back. We're gonna talk about passing lanes on the road from Minor to Cedar City, and then also this one on 53. So if we get it on, we're gonna have to go to the top of UDOT to get
Oh, no
it done.
question.
And so,
Have you been in contact with Carlos at all?
not since you and I got to this last legislative session. That's why I'm talking to Donna, because she's kind of been that mediator.
Right. As long as we're making progress, or not just with Carlos, as long as.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still super frustrated because nothing got plowed during my storm. No side roads, no off, just the two lanes up and back. So anyway, we're gonna try and get a hold of Chase and see if they could. He actually emailed us Monday morning after the snowstorm and said,
Yes, ma'am.
we're putting those contracts in place. I don't know if there's money or not.
Well, there was extensive conversation about which portions, which parties could
Yeah,
stand.
back over again, please. Put the minutes back over, please.
So there is, I know that we have a good idea of who's responsible for what. It's just a matter of putting it in writing, getting everybody's signature on it, and moving forward. So we'll go ahead and put that on as an action item for me to follow up with Commander Peely,
Yeah.
just so that we can kind of keep an eyeball and keep that ball rolling forward.
Yeah, he was super interested in it, so.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Jim, while we're
I actually got an email that I'm not certain that you saw. FEMA has, oh, did you see that one? I think 100% we can. I was more concerned about the reporting metrics, who is going to report on that, where we have Lyndon's team doing that work. He and I have decided, you know, it's a really good division of labor for him to do the work, for him to give us a clear update on what the work has been done, and for me to keep track of that and then report back on the FEMA grant for that. Having worked with FEMA in previous positions with the state, I kind of know what they're looking for and how they want certain things and how specific they can be. Regarding the update that we received this week, yes, I think it's reasonable, and I think it's 100% doable. So that's going to be a moving target for me to kind of keep my eye on, to keep.
Please do make sure you stay prioritized.
Yep, we'll keep Lyndon in close contact. I plan on having a meeting with him every few weeks just to get a standard update on what that is, so I know how to report accurately for those quarterly progress reports.
And for the record, and those that don't know, the BRIC grant that we applied for through FEMA is emergency funding through American Rescue Plan, and it's to do with the infrastructure part of it. It's for the diversion of the Beaver River down just below Minersville. And so we're diverted to either go down continually to north of Milford or out to Hay Springs. So something to allow where we don't have flooding when we have the high water years downstream.
In that planning, is there a way to measure that?
What do you mean?
There will be a measurement?
Yeah, I think you guys can make sure that that's on there, because there's going to be a measurement on there, yeah.
I believe, as I understand it, when they're doing feasibility studies for this kind of planning, they have specific thresholds for watersheds. And when they hit certain thresholds, they then start diversion, and so it's more preemptive, right? Like, it's a continual monitoring situation. My experience has been with the diversion dams up above North Provo River, and so they have several basins there that they continually watch, continually take measurements on, and then collectively decide which way are we diverting based off of what percentage, based off of all the other percentages, right? So it's a whole picture. This is a little bit more simple in nature than that, and so I think this is something that will allow us to easily stay on top of and kind of make smart decisions about how we need to move forward.
Well, and to be clear, there are priority water rights down the river.
Absolutely.
So until those are met,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. But that is part of the planning, right? That's part of why we do the feasibility study is to say, all things considered, what is the threshold for Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, and then we make those decisions at that time.
And that's for basically, Commissioner, the biggest reason for the diversion is to make sure we're in the before we defer it.
Right. Correct.
And there's no labor intensive cost to us.
Correct.
We have to literally man a track out there 24/7. When high water is very costly.
It's a smart way to approach a unique problem. So I'm thrilled.
Right.
I hope we have the problem.
Let's hope we have that problem for a few years.
I want to get the feasibility study done first, and then have the problem. So, not that I don't have water this year.
Thank you, Jim, for staying on top of that. Commissioner Hollingshead, are we still okay with our staff at the health department?
Yeah, I think it's better now. I think, they still have a pretty good revolving door around that, the whole area, actually. But I think they've brought up wages and they've done things, I think we're okay.
So there is part-time staff there, and
Supposedly, I did get a complaint that you still have to call Peter to make an appointment to Beaver, which is somewhat annoying. I'll talk, I haven't talked about it last week, I'll see him next week again, so I'll talk to him again next week.
Well, and I think you're going to have some HR.
I mean, yeah.
Because, everybody is with health right now. It's hard to step in.
It's just tough, but, it's a tough field, and they're competing against other entities that offer just so much more, so it's hard for people to stay. So but they brought stuff up now, and I think they're competing a little bit better now, so I think they'll be better.
what is our cost share? The county,
think it's around $7 or something, for population, like that's what it was, I think. I remember correctly.
If you have it, get it to me.
I do have it.
What you gave me earlier.
Yeah, there's a formula we base it on.
Yeah,
Statewide.
yeah, and it hasn't changed, I should have brought it today, maybe it's, yeah, maybe I'll get it.
Have an email? Have an email?
No, he handed out to the paper, so I'll have it, he gave it last week, I'll bring it today. We just get it.
Good enough. Okay, is there any other, comments on the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hollingshead, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Make unanimous. We're just a little bit ahead, but go ahead and come on up, Kyle. It's always good to be ahead rather than behind. For the record, this is considered ordinance 2022-08, a rezonement from A5 to RE5. And its property owner is Wilden.
Yeah, Commissioner, it's,
RE 5 to 8.
That was my typo.
Oh, did we do that?
Oh, yeah, they did, right.
Oh.
So RE5 back to.
So it's just-
Correct. It's right there on the board, right there.
Yeah, I changed it this morning, thank you, Bobby.
I was gonna say, mine's right. Okay, no, okay, yeah, no, it's just backwards. Okay, all right. No, I'm glad you caught that, 'cause I didn't catch that. Nobody does understand that it is from it's currently zoned RE5, and they want to zone it to A5. So Kyle, go ahead and give us the rundown, be as detail-oriented as you can, but quick as you can on it, and where it's been in the plan and the zoning process, and how it's come out of plan and the zoning recommendations.
Sure, so I'll, a quick rundown, this is a subdivision, north of town, North Creek Loop Road. Just pull up your Google Earth there, so anyways, and we'll have the individuals come up here in a second, but this is the Beaver Valley Estate subdivision. It was requested for a zone change back in 2006, 7-ish, for a change from an agriculture zone to a residential estate zone because of the subdivision process of putting a subdivision there.
Was it on A5 or A10?
It was A10 back then, yeah. And so, now, the individuals are wanting to go back to agriculture use and uses, and so they're requesting a zone change back from residential estates 5 acre to an agriculture 5 acre zone. There is a home already built on, roughly on lot 8, and then one currently in construction on lot 2. But otherwise, the subdivision has not been developed, with homes. The infrastructure is there, but, homes have not been built, in there besides the owners of the subdivision.
Okay, now you say there's a home, adjacent to lot 7, did you say, or lot 8? I know there's one adjacent to lot 8.
Right here on lot 8, and
Okay.
then here in lot 2 of the subdivision. One is being currently constructed.
And then there's one, is there one on the outside perimeter of lot 8? I do know there's one on the outside perimeter of lot 2, is that correct? Or not?
There's one on the perimeter of lot 1 here outside of the subdivision.
Okay, that's where it's at, then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how many lots total are
There
there?
are 8 lots.
So a quarter of them have been converted into homes.
Yeah,
Am I on? A quarter of them have been converted into homes.
yeah.
Okay, so what was the, because I understand there was contention and some, mixed feelings among the board. Tell me for the record, I don't know, but for the record, tell me how the voting turned out on that, what the recommendation is, if you would, please.
Sure, so, the voting was a little bit, so we tabled the actual decision, because of kind of lack of board members there. We only had 4 individuals out of the 7, and so they tabled it because they felt like they couldn't make a decision on that until they actually had the entire board there. And so, the recommendation was, to change it to an RA5 to an A5 on a 4-to-1 vote. So out of the 5 members, 4 voted for, 1 voted against the zone change.
So it was a full quorum that was there then?
Yes, well, a full quorum, yes. We were missing 1 individual, but, a full quorum is 4, and so, yeah, we did have a full quorum.
For the commissioner's sake, and for question's sake, this is my prerogative as a chairman. This is not a public hearing or a public comment meeting, but for the reasons on this, I'm going to ask that Mr. Wilder and Mr. Bergdahl come up and sit with us a minute, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to speak on what you want to do on this, please.
Can I ask a quick question real quick?
Sure.
On the dissenting vote, so he didn't vote for the A5, did he want something different, or did he, or that she or he?
Yeah, it was, they wanted an A10, so the division, right, and that's kind of the issue, right now, the subdivision is still intact, and so to change it to an A10, you pretty much have non-conforming lots in that subdivision, and so.
There is one more, right?
There's one and then another one being built, and so, yeah, those would be considered legal, non-conforming, lots, which, right, we can't be the ones that break our own ordinance, and so, that was kind of the talk about it, and then there was also talks about, revoking the subdivision and going that route also.
Okay, for the record, we'll both of you state your name, and then I'm going to give you 5 minutes to give us your version of what you're requesting here and the purpose of why.
Sure, Nick Wilden, Kirby Barkville.
Okay, whoever spoke for this, please proceed.
Okay. Well, I sent letters to the commissioners and the secretary sent letters, pretty well explained our situation, but basically, it was agriculture, it's gonna be used as agriculture, so we basically want to take it back to agriculture. It's a pretty simple situation, and we have a neighbor out there that, if we stayed with the CUP, would be complaining about this and that every time we turn around. And, originally, I met with Leo Cannell, and he said, go to the CUP, and if that doesn't work out, then you can always go to change it back to zoning agriculture. It's probably going to be a lot smaller operation than when we originally thought, the way the economy is. I've only got actually 5 of my 18 cows that have been rebred, so there might be 10 calves next year, 11 calves. So it's pretty simple. It's all agriculture. I've got 3 pastures. I'm going to put 2 more pastures in. I've got water rights enough to put in 17 acres under pasture. And that's all it's going to be.
So let me ask a question, and not to be argumentative, but just a question to you.
Mm-hmm.
They granted you a CUP that you work under now, which, from what I understand, in reading one of the letters and also the minutes, I think Mr. Bergdahl was there, and you had agreed to those conditions. Why do you feel like you need to change it back to A5 rather than just live it under the condition that you put it under?
Well, when that appeal was made, they put additional conditions on, which several of the zoning people stated in the last meeting that they couldn't live with those, which...
Do you have a copy of that I could look at, please?
Of the original?
No, the new it's the Board of Adjustments that put the additional conditions on it, am I correct? Did you sit in on this,
Yeah, let's
Counselor?
clarify that. It wasn't a decision made by the Board of Adjustment per se. They accepted an agreement reached between the two parties. And once that agreement was reached, then they endorsed it. So it wasn't that they heard the case and made a decision.
Okay, but my question is, I'd like to see sometime today, because
I was gonna say,
I'm not
I
gonna
don't have
make a
it
decision right now, because
with
we've still
me.
got the, Mr. Ross that's gonna present this afternoon, and I'm not sure that even at that time that, I'm gonna feel comfortable, and the commissioner may not feel comfortable to fully give a verdict on this today, so we will look at it. So sometime today, could you give me a copy of that?
Yeah.
Of that conditional select that we can review on the DC, Commissioner?
I haven't.
Have you?
I don't think so.
And it's important that we see them.
Right, I've heard.
And I've heard them, but there again, I've only, hearsay is hearsay. I'm a man that, I'm not really not from Missouri, but I like to say I'm from Missouri, you gotta show me. Because I like to make the wise decision with the facts before me, so. Commissioners, questions before our petitioners here?
One question for me, so what's zoned around that area? I mean, there's some residential and obviously agriculture out there.
So it's
We're not spot zoning.
It's a little bit of both, actually.
Both parties on each side of here currently. So
But the general area is all A20, isn't it?
No, the area to the south is A20, the Bradshaw Farm and all that is A20.
Which is directly south, right? And then north is residential?
And then north is residential estates, and then
Across the highway, though, right?
Yes.
yeah, and then to the east, it's agriculture, 10 acre, to the west.
Can you pull up, Google Earth for me and show me, just kind of, there you go. Load up and show me, Kyle, take
We'll
the,
see if it loads, I
yeah,
guess.
let's hit the load, and you can kind of show me again the RE5 around it where it goes. And I know there's a lot of A20 out there also, but I know it's not next to it. Now you're getting close.
Senior Reed, a little further away.
So this is actually, not outdated.
It was already fine.
So, it actually is.
Yeah, just kind of show me with a little hand in there, just kind of,
So
you can
this-
outline it.
This area here is the area that we're talking about. It's actually, it's residential 5, which should be the clear. And then, like I said, to the direct west of it, is a piece, and then everything to the south is A20, A5, pretty much everything.
But it's all, but it's RE5, not A10 right now, right?
This is correct, that's why I said
Okay.
this.
And the
don't know
piece that
why
I can
you
see,
were-
that's that pond down off the hill, Bradshaw's.
Yeah, right up above
Okay.
So, and then everything again to the east is, agriculture 5 or 10.
Well, there's all sorts of zones out there, isn't there?
Yeah, everything in the area is either agriculture or residential.
What a, so I didn't realize there was any RE1s out there.
Well, yeah, because most of the area, like through here, right, is homes. It's not,
And most of those
And
are
then
RE1s that I'm seeing.
most of these are actually a mixture of both. So
Okay.
it's, through here is A10, and then they have that spot of residential there, and then the rest is A5 or residential 1 there.
So we don't know if they're blue or blue. Right there.
So, you take the zoning off,
That's what's the road back. I'm where it is.
so it runs right here.
Okay, thank you for that, Kyle.
Put back your zone, so the only thing that is not being updated is just that A10, as far as the current.
Yeah, I don't know why, again, why that's not, because if it was
You're
done.
on Google Earth.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was done in 2006 or 2006, so I don't know why that even shows the name in right there. So this whole portion up to the last chance road, and those lots are all residential estates, 5 acre.
So all the agriculture, you see obviously that there's a lot of irrigation going on in there. It's still zoned RE5,
Yes.
and that was for subdivision. Is that all part of subdivision, or is that?
From doing a little bit of research, it looked like, it was more of to get this area and this area kind of all in compliance rather than doing random areas like this, of residential there and residential here. They kind of just threw it all in there as residential estate.
Who's Kevin right there?
This is Bradshaw.
That's what I thought.
Rodney Clark Bradshaw.
Okay, Commissioner, any other questions?
Yeah, so you initially got a CUP, which was fine, or you were using it as correct, and then for some reason it went to Board of Adjustments and then it changed, or what happened there? 'Cause
Well,
it's
they
not
appealed
RE5.
the CUP.
Okay.
Correct, so they originally came in for a conditional use permit to graze their cattle, and that was approved with a certain amount of cattle and things
Okay.
of that nature. Neighbors appealed that decision, so then it went to the Board of Appeal.
So neighbors and neighbor,
Neighbors, it was.
multiple people?
Yeah.
Okay. And they appealed, and the Board of Adjustments gave additional
Yeah,
restrictions.
kind of like what Vaughn said, after a discussion with both parties,
It was amicable, that's what he said, he was trying to get between the two parties. You agreed to that conditions, under the Board of Adjustments.
Kirby agreed, I didn't.
You weren't.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Well, I noticed as I read a lot of the minutes and a lot of the stuff, Kirby, stated for the record that he was representing you. And I know, I want to know for clarification purposes, was he or wasn't he on any of these meetings representing Mr. Wilson?
Well, he was representing himself, but he wasn't necessarily representing me.
But they particularly stated that he was representing you.
Well, you know, I'm a stake presidency, and we did a 3 stake split, so I couldn't come to that meeting. So, you know, I wouldn't have adhered to several of the additional conditions that were put on.
So you are, that's what I'm getting at. You, or not, you was not in favor, and Mr. Burkall should not have agreed to those conditions then.
Yeah, he should have checked with me first before agreeing to those.
so obviously, like, the issue is we're in a meeting, and so that's why it was done at that time. And the meeting has also been postponed previously from the applicant that was requesting the actual, appeal.
And Kirby, I don't want you to think I'm throwing you under the bus, I just need that for clarification purposes. I think they all just make our decision.
You're fine.
So for my timeline, so after that, then you came to the planning and zoning for a zone change, and that's been passed 4-1 to a A5.
So it was, he'd actually requested the zone change before that actual meeting happened.
Okay.
And it was stated.
So it was just in the process.
After we got the CUP, the next morning, Casey was driving up the roads, counting all the cows.
And I'll
And
be honest, I don't want to get into
knew-
that, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
the reason,
further than what we're
that's the
doing.
reason we decided to go agriculture.
Okay.
So Kyle, sorry to keep making these voices because I'm not tech savvy, but can you zoom in and can you lighten the layers? I know somebody knows how to do that, I don't know. There you go. Now zoom in. So, that piece there.
I have to do this for planning and zoning.
Well, no, it's very helpful too.
So, everything,
What's that? Medical planning, actually, yeah, I actually did go a hair too far there.
So medical trade is next to it.
Yeah,
And then eight, yeah.
that is 18, yes. All of the light is 18, correct.
And we're open to going to A10 if A5 doesn't work.
so what's your thought process on keeping the subdivision or not?
Well, that was kind of Kyle's thought process. That it was easier to go A5 and keep it the way it was versus going through all the hoops to undo it.
Don't have to resurvey the thing, throw the whole thing out, start over. You just keep it at the 5.
You got two houses.
That's correct. My house and his.
Ideally, right, it would be, that's what the ideal situation would be, would be to revoke the subdivision. It's not, it is a process to do that, right, with public hearings and things like that with this board.
Well, I'm gonna voice my, opinion, and you guys can do the same if you would, but to me, and this is only me, and it's the years that I've served, and it's my institutional knowledge, and we've seen problems with these subdivisions before, whether they're A5s or RA5s. I think all subdivisions should be RE5s, not A5s. That's my personal feeling as a commissioner. And, or abandon the subdivision completely.
And I would actually agree with that. My opinion, I've talked to Tammy a little bit about this over the past few months, is that the A5 zone, we don't have anywhere in the county where we have an A5 zone that is not primarily used for residential, right? It's because, hey, I want to be able to have agriculture, but I want to be close to my farm and my surrounding farms A20, and the county in the past has not zoned an area for residential in the middle of agriculture, and so we've done it as an A5 instead. An A5 probably shouldn't have the same uses as an A20, so that's kind of the issue there, right? We don't, and right, the Wildens and Kirby would probably agree that you probably don't want a gravel pit or a crusher or, you know, intensive livestock operations in that area, because they are living there. It is their primary residence. And so I think maybe what we do, because we have a lot of those subdivisions in the county that are there already as an A5, we probably go in and adjust the uses. Correct, we have, and there's gonna continue to be, and
all we're doing is, to me, is not, and I'm not saying it's just these guys.
No, it's-
But I'm just saying for future purposes, that should be addressed by planning and zoning, that if it's a subdivision plat that comes before them, they should consider putting an RA5, so we don't have this problem with A5s and then neighbors
yeah.
blocking homes.
So you're saying either RE5 or A10, no A5.
Well, sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What I would actually suggest is we change the uses in an A5 so they're not the exact same as an A10 or 20,
Yeah,
right?
that makes more sense.
Because it's already there. We don't want to go and change 18 zones throughout the county that are already A5.
No, I'm saying future.
Well, yeah,
But I do like your idea of also going in and segregating and saying, here's the conditions under A5 versus A10 versus under A20.
Because I think that's what, like the Barksdale, like the Wildens, they want to have that use of agriculture 5-acre parcel probably isn't the best place to do major crop growth, irrigation, and some future livestock.
Well, my next question would be, for those parcels that have been carved out for homes, was there conditional uses on those homes? Because I know that's been some of the, comments when I was on planning and zoning and that, and the nuisance law and that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
is there already conditions on these homes that have been carved out?
Yeah, so like Mr. Barkow, when he applied for his building permit this year and was approved, he had to sign a conditional use permit to have a home. Well, actually, let me back up. He did not, because he is in a residential estate zone currently. And so, he would have, if this was agriculture beforehand, he would have had to have signed a conditional use permit stating that he understands he is building in an agriculture zone. But yeah, currently, I guess, I forgot he did not have to because it's currently his own residential estate.
So if this gets changed, will that change?
No, unfortunately.
Because that would be grandfathered.
It would be, yeah, it's not retroactive, and so the code can't go back to, requiring something like that. They're gonna know still, right, because of the requirements of Utah law in agriculture zones, but, we can't require them to sign a conditional use permit to put the home there to the party there. But any future homes, right, if they decided to sell a lot, they would then have to come in and receive that conditional use permit approval for a home in an ag zone.
So those, can you put your titles back on to those? Like which one's which, just let me specify. Sorry, me today. So, my question, those homes that are in ag already, do they have those conditional uses, like, I guess, nuisance?
Only those that have been built since the ordinance was established.
So how long is that?
It's within the past few years.
Because I know, I served on the, Twin Conservation as the district manager for 33 or 4 or 5, I can't remember, it might be too long. But one of the things that came down from the state legislature was the, now I'm gonna lose the name of it, the ag protection area, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Agriculture protection zone.
I think it's an area, isn't it?
It's an ag protection area that we created as a zone.
As a zone, but so you can be designated as an ag protection area. And so, and we deal with this on a state and a federal level nonstop. You've got a lot of urban sprawl that's encroaching on ag, across the state. And, they're fighting now to protect the open areas for ag. That was one of the issues with on our setbacks and stuff with the, soil protection and intensive agriculture. But I'm assuming that anybody that built in the ag zone to begin with is going to be complimentary or, they would be restricted in their complaints or their nuisance complaints on that.
Correct, because of those original state laws. We just
Right.
can't require them to sign a conditional use permit, if it happened right before that ordinance was established.
Mhm.
Like that retroactive code, but yeah, the state of Utah has certain restrictions and requirements for agriculture zoning in districts that if you are residential, that you have to abide by also, right?
Good.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Bradshaw's Pivot, if that's RE5, is he in the CUP?
That would have been grandfathered in, right, because it was done before the zone change. They've been irrigating that before for the original zone in 1993. But if they did try to then come in and do that, that's where they would have to apply for those requirements of the conditional use permit.
So there's already 5, there's no condition on that.
No, right, because it was retroactive, just like we talked about with all the residential homes that are currently in an agriculture zone. It's considered retroactive.
How many acres are you talking about in this little lot you showed us?
40 acres.
There's 40 acres there.
Roughly each lot's around 5 acres, 5 plus.
Commissioner, any other questions?
Yeah, I guess my only question would be, is the benefit of keeping the A5, or the 5-acre parcel as your subdivision, is somewhere in the future when ag goes under a retake? I mean, I'm always got that hanging over my head. Or you still want to consider that subdivision in the future? I mean, you got kids that want to come home and go buy tractors. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but, you know.
You know, Kirby's got 10 acres there. Like I said, mine is just gonna be used for agriculture. I don't foresee any other building on the 30 acres that I have.
Nor do I at this point.
I know on the state level, they create a lot of leniency for secondary homes and different things like that due to the housing shortage and acreage, so.
State has done a significant control over buildings, so.
True.
If I ever sell the 30 acres, it'd be one piece sold together.
Legal counsel, any questions from you?
Yeah.
Mr. Holliday?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Pearson? Okay, at this time, the chair is not going to entertain a motion. We want the rest of the day to consider and talk about this a little more, and hopefully we will come to the decision, we will come to the decision before the end of the day on this. So,
We
I
just-
want to see this,
Yeah.
the paper that you can pull for me.
Yeah,
And no hurry, just give it to me if you can, as soon as you can, but no hurry.
Hard copy preferably.
yeah, I'll go and do some printing.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, guys.
You
Appreciate it.
appreciate all your time.
Do that. And Kyle, you can remain seated. Let's talk about something very controversial again. Let's talk about business licenses.
Keep it going, keep it going.
Mike, you need your mic. That was a huge thing on the business license.
Yeah, it was.
Holy crap,
Jeez.
that was hard to swallow.
It was actually 29 pages.
You're supposed to trim the fat off first.
Correct, and I thought I trimmed some off.
Oh, you did?
And,
You did.
I only got it down 10
Thank you
pages.
for that.
So, yeah.
He took care of a quarter of it for you.
Correct, yeah,
Oh.
there's a lot
Wow.
more that still needs to be, trimmed off for sure, but I guess that, if you were okay, you want me to start talking, I guess? Sorry, I'm interrupting you, Chairman, you want me to start?
No,
talking?
the time is yours.
So, obviously, there's a lot of, areas you can go with the route of business licenses. And so, looking at different ordinances, throughout the county, or throughout the state, I tried to find some that at least gave us a good starting point, that we could then start trimming the fat, compared to others that are, 4 or 5 pages, that actually, severe counties, I like a little bit better, that's 26 pages, without doing any trimming or anything like that. Like I said, this
Is
one.
it that detailed?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
This one, like I said, this one started with 29 and, I cut it down to about 10 pages off of that, around 19.
For the record, can you tell us at one time that there's only 2 counties at this point, Beaver County and Garfield County, that does not require business licenses?
No, Garfield County does.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
So what are the only counties?
That I have come across, so after talking to the Department of Commerce, he said there was 2. One, it was us. He didn't tell me the other.
But aren't we mandated to have it?
He actually brought that up,
Right.
that we are required, right? And he
We're actually
said,
breaking the law.
all jurisdictions
Bending
are required to have
We're
business.
not criminals.
And I told him, I was like, we have business licenses, and he's like, well, that doesn't show, anyways, I was like, well, we have, a license to be married and a beer license, and that. I was not lying to him when he,
Two most important
when he was,
things.
yeah,
Clarity.
so, correct, yeah, drinking and marriage, so, anyways.
And they don't have it.
Might argue it.
So anyways, after talking to him, that is what he stated, and so I haven't actually been able to find the other county. We have Garfield County's ordinance, like I said, it's about 6 or 7 pages. Again, I'm not saying that 19 pages is where we should be at. I think it should be cut down even more than that, but I think that's a good starting point. And severe counties is very good also. Like I said, it's 26 pages, but they have 3 of those pages that are just definitions and talking about, right, what is their definition. So they actually have an agriculture, industry, and business definition. And at the very end of it, right, it talks about, hey, all of these are considered agriculture, intensive feeding, storage, and that. And then the last line is agriculture, industry, or business shall not include the raising or sale of unprocessed crops, including hay. And so after talking to them a little bit, they said, yeah, we require everyone to have a business license in the county. But we do have some stipulations on what we consider a minor or major application or business, and so, yeah.
So can you forward us theirs too? Or can we just need to?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, so it's,
So one of the emails, is this one that you put together yourself, or is
this is one that is an existing that I've, cut large portions of it that I would say are not, applicable for what we're wanting to do,
I thought you'd done a good job on the Kyle right away.
so.
Yeah, thanks for,
Yeah, like I said, it started with 29, and, after a couple of weeks, I got it down to 19, but I think there's still more that, for sure could be removed, so.
Yeah, and to be fair, Kyle and I have had a handful of conversations about, how do we do this? How do we make it digestible to be conforming to the state standards, but also allow for some of the flexibility that you guys have voiced in previous meetings. I will admit that I started digging through it. I got all the way through it, but not in one setting, as I fell asleep at one point.
Well, my intent from the very beginning was to make sure we excluded anything to do with agriculture.
Yes,
They would be excluded.
Yes.
I still feel that way.
Yes, and I think, hearing that comment from you particularly, I've spent a lot of time thinking around it and looking at some of the things that we do for tourism. So there are, and I have talked with folks from other counties who have business license and they're ag licenses. They don't pay any fee for those, but they have used them to their benefit, to protect their businesses as agricultural businesses, when city councils have come in and wanted to change layers, zoning issues. So I think there may even be room to have some of that discussion too amongst the 3 of you to see how how some of the other counties are using even business licenses for ag primarily, that promotes some protection for that farmer. And ultimately,
But I
when
think,
you,
I think, and council, help me if I'm right, but I think our zoning would do that, our zoning alone would do that, wouldn't it, to protect them?
Well, sure, to an extent.
Because what I don't wanna, you know, from the very beginning, I just wanna make sure it's in compliance with the statute, and I didn't want to hinder the hay growers and the cattle.
And I think everyone knows.
yeah. I would say that consensus is
But if
across
this,
the board.
if what you're saying, Jen, gives them protection, if you can tell me that, maybe that's something we need to do. I mean, we waive the fee or whatever, but I just need to, again, I need to be shown that there's a reason and a probable reason to have that for farmers and ranchers.
Absolutely, and I didn't understand it either until I heard, someone down in Washington County. She owns a farm, kind of like they do a pumpkin patch, but it's agritourism. And they raise cattle and they do a bunch of stuff. And she said, I have a business license and the fee is waived because I'm agriculture. But when a city council meeting came forward and they wanted to rezone because I have houses all around me, I was able to essentially say, I've had this business license. It's an agricultural business license, and I've been good about renewing it every year for the last 25 years. And that helps that council understand why it might not be smart to make that change to putting residential over some of her area. And so it only helps. It doesn't really protect anything.
So from my understanding, I think I know where you're talking about. That's out in Washington.
Yeah.
And that is because that was once in the county and now it's been annexed into Washington city limits.
Correct.
So, to me, as long as, and under the statute, they cannot encroach on her rights as long, because they're automatically grandfathered in.
Non-conforming.
Correct.
Yes, they're just non-conforming, but they're grandfathered in, so.
The license
Again,
really-
somebody's gotta prove to me that being
Yeah, the license just shows good faith on her part,
Mhm.
that she's, you know,
Continue the actual use in that area.
Right.
yeah, and so I think that there's a way that we can look at the document that Kyle has provided us and kind of say, well, what's unique about what we do here? And how can we make it work here for us specifically? When I think about it from the economic development side, I see business licensing as a metric that tells me, just kind of what's going on, like, so I know.
Well, the whole purpose, we want to know who's out there.
Yeah,
And what they're doing.
and so I like the idea of an agricultural business license, and we can give it whatever leniency we want to build into it, but it at least gives us a metric for me at my desk or any of my predecessors, to say, oh, well, we have X number of ag licenses. Some of them qualify just as ag licenses, some of them are ag tourism, some of them are, you know, this, that, and the other, and we can set up some of that stuff, but it gives us a good baseline to know, and to be on the lookout. Truthfully, it gives me a really powerful tool to be on the lookout for federal grants or even for state grants that may help these business owners, right? Because even if you're running a farm, it's still a business. And so I can look at some of the stuff and say, hey, here's a pot of money that maybe applies to you, and you can put in for, or we can look at as something moving forward on the county side. So for me, it's metric, right? It's informational data that really helps drive the good decision making for you guys.
So I agree with what you're saying and because I've been doing the same kind of background and history and talking to UDAP and those guys, and there is value in. I don't think there's probably a farmer or ag business in the county or even in the state that doesn't have like a tax ID number, a tax exempt number, and those kind of things. So all of that kind of ties together, and I think it makes a lot of sense because ag is probably the most varied business in the county.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to restrict anybody, but I think if we have a registration list of all of the businesses, I don't think that ag is necessarily
state statute, we have to have a license. Now, we use whatever it is.
Correct.
I think you have to get a license.
And I think that's why all jurisdictions that I've come across require them to have a business license. Now, they may not, well, most do charge, but some the ones that don't, kind of that same thing, right? We have to.
You're saying you
we have
come
to
across
have-
some that are charging agricultural business
yeah.
fees?
All but Garfield County. Garfield County is the only one that I've come across that does not.
And mine.
And it's not.
And they're
I mean, this
original from
This is so
1979.
new, and you gotta remember that, the bulk of our industry is agriculture in this county. And you're gonna stir up a hornet's nest. We did the minute we even started talking business licenses, even without the agriculture piece, because let's just say, I'm just gonna be straightforward. You got so many people that sit complacent out there, and all of a sudden they say, we gotta have a business license, and before you know it, the next guy's saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna charge, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
So you guys, I want you to methodically think this out.
I agree. I think we need to do some serious education, and somehow we need to make sure we get ahead of that before that happens right there.
Absolutely, because believe me, it's
I
gonna
can
stir up
promise
a
you,
hornet's nest.
it's already happened.
Okay.
It has, I've seen it, I've heard it.
I've received phone calls and emails.
And so have I.
About the subject for months now. In fact, I had one on Monday where an individual called, and they are located inside a city, right, a jurisdiction. And I said, we do not have jurisdiction over where if you don't have one already, I said, you're probably breaking the law. So, again, this is the unincorporated areas of the county.
I've just gotta be convinced that I'm just putting this out there, I just gotta be 100% convinced that it is for the full protection of that agricultural person. Then I'll be willing to buy alcohol.
Well, and I think.
But if we're already covered under our zoning, and also grandfather clauses that's annexed, I don't know, I don't want to complicate things, and I don't want to stir up the hornets.
Well, here's the thing, is we're anti-big government.
Absolutely,
We
yes.
don't want to be managing.
Yeah,
Everything that we
exactly.
shouldn't be managing.
Correct.
But
Micromanage.
our mandate coming from the state is we have to have business licenses, and so the least restrictive, the least amount of paperwork or requirements from the business owners themselves is what we need to do.
Yeah.
But in that same context, it still goes back to, we protect the people of the county, right?
Yeah.
It's the safety and welfare of the residents.
Well, sorry.
I was gonna say, I think we've done that, right, for the past
Right.
40 years. Garfield County adopted theirs in 1979, I think is what, the 79.
So 40 years ago.
So, we have been behind the eight ball for a long time in this regard. Not that it's, been detrimental, but I think it's, again, something we need to get in place. I don't think we have to recreate the wheel when everyone has already done that for us. I think we have to find what will help and meet the requirements of the state and what we are wanting to do in Beaver County. Kind of like what you said, Commissioner Wendy, it's something that we want to make ours and not pay what they're doing or what they're doing. We want to do what's right for the citizens of Beaver County.
Exactly.
And we're looking at a whole process approach too, because this may just be the code that we're looking at, but we've already looked at potential applications for these business licenses, and what looks best, and what is the path of least resistance to make it easy for those who are unaccustomed to this process that we are going to have to bring forward. And so, I know we're giving you this one really big thing, this one really big bite to chew on right now. The hope is that you chew it a little more and spit out some of the fat for us, right? And then we're going to continue to give you the next bite once this one's manageable. But please understand that Kyle has done an incredible amount of work to do the research to find how we can be path of least resistance, so that we can help you move forward and navigate it a little more easily.
And we appreciate that.
Trust me, I've loved so much about this county anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to create any more work or headache for me.
I know, and that's what I'm trying to alleviate here, decision we've got to decide.
Correct, you guys
That's
are.
again,
are
the
the
You got a
ones-
recommendation,
Right.
not you?
Oh, for sure, I'd like to pass the buck up, but.
So the fees would come to the clerk or the treasurer, right? So would they be in charge of?
Well, and we can
paying
talk
those
about, we
businesses,
can
or-
talk about
I know
that
Beaver
too.
doesn't want that probably. but-
Correct, right? No one wants it, right?
It's
Well,
gonna be a partnership, I think, truthfully.
And I do like exactly what I would say. I would say that there are three departments that will be kind of in partnership.
And that's the way
Everyone that I've
Commissioner
come
and I
across
envisioned it.
has come across the clerk, but that doesn't mean the clerk does 90% of the work. They probably are taking the license and then distributing it and saying, there you go, it's now mine or Jen's problem to then deal with and actually issue the permit, so.
I will say we will do whatever's necessary. We know that in the past it's been handled through the clerk's office. Does it need to? Maybe not, but we'll work through that, but we will do whatever we need to do.
Thanks, Ginger. Thank you.
There are multiple scenarios where it can be handled, and I think the three of us have been in conversation about like how is that best structured. But again, that's part of the whole hog approach to this, right? We're looking at every single little piece and going, okay, what can we devise, what makes sense amongst us as department heads to go ahead and facilitate this thing, because we know it's coming. So how can we give you options that you guys can then say, you know what, this looks holistic for us, this is great, so.
And I've actually, our programming with our building permitting application, our cloud-based program, we actually had that company set up a business license portal on that. And so what it would actually probably look like, it would go to all three departments, and then in reality, whatever it is, depending on the license, that department would then deal with it, and then paying would probably just come to one department, whatever that is. And so most of it would probably be done by the Department of Defense, right? So if it's a nightly rental, or if it's something to do, right, with Jen, if Jen would say, hey, I think that would fall under what I'm doing, then that's how it would be. But it would be a cloud-based, everyone would be able to see anytime that application came in, so.
Would it be set up, Kyle, so they can pay, like, have you seen some of that? Could they go on and get their?
You need to speak up for the record.
I just was wondering if it'd be set up so they could pay for it. I told Ginger earlier, I said, if you
Online.
could have that set up, that they could pay for those online, that'd take a huge
Agreed.
weight and a lot of work off of somebody's shoulders, if that.
Well, that's something we can work on down
Yeah.
as we go forward.
And I-
Because it's gonna take some tweaking, it's not gonna be an immediate fix.
Yeah, and I would say that for
It's a
sure,
process.
in my opinion, that's how it should be done. It should be where, right, we streamline it where anyone, you can be anywhere in the world and apply for a business license or a building permit in Beaver County. And that's the same way we would set up the business.
Well, it needs to be. I mean, that's
And so you can set that up and you can pay for it, in my opinion, right then and there.
You can do that with a marriage license, can't you?
Well, so what I'm getting at is
Utah County is the only one that does that.
Okay,
I know you reason that Utah County is the only one that does that.
I didn't know if we did.
You actually have to come in and pay for our building permits, most of the time in the office. You can do it online, but there is a fee charged, right, for that, so.
But you have to treat everybody fairly, you can't pick and choose.
Correct, right, and that's why we would go through this process, right? So it would, we don't wanna pick and choose and just pick on some businesses and others, and that was another concern that I had from an individual, from Milford that contacted me a couple weeks ago that I sent Tammy's way also and said, hey, cause he said, well, you know, why do I have to pay when so-and-so doesn't? And he was bringing up that he has a business inside Milford City, and he knows that there's two businesses outside of the city that aren't being regulated or anything, and he said, it's not fair for me to have to pay all of the state requirements, right, when those individuals are not. And so, anyways, it's gonna be a wonderful process.
No, it truly is. And I mean, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because he talked to me, and I know exactly.
And there you go.
So you know exactly what he's talking about, and then in a couple circumstances, he's exactly right.
He is, for
There's
sure.
others who need to be doing
And I
business.
agree with him on that, yeah.
So,
So if you guys are okay with that, I will,
Perfect.
continue on, and maybe I'll send you, severe counties without doing anything, and if you guys look at that and say, hey, maybe that's the route, and again, I'm not saying you guys are supposed to be writing or doing any of that. If you see that it is a better ordinance and may fit our requirements or uses, we go that route, right? And then we can start dissecting it and adding to how we feel it should be in our county.
Well, and luckily, Debbie, we've got those kind of relationships. We can talk to the other counties and see where their bugs are or where their, pinch points are.
Yeah.
And go from there too.
And that's kind of how I've come across by talking to other jurisdictions and counties and saying, hey, we actually pulled most of our stuff from this county, and then calling that county, yeah, we pulled it from here, and a lot of them pulled from that original document that I sent you, so.
Okay, Commissioners, any other questions?
No,
Legal
I'm
counsel,
good.
any questions from Kyle on this?
Thanks for
He's answered, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, appreciate all your work.
Thank you again, Kyle. So, appreciate that.
Come back
Okay.
later today.
We've got just a few more minutes. Was, Sheila gonna come in?
I'm talking right now, just make sure.
Okay, Commissioner, go ahead and start on, if you've got any updates or other than the ones that we've talked about, brought forward towards you.
Can I don't know.
You sure can.
I'm going to ask you about our court case, but that probably doesn't go through.
No, that can't be. Anything else?
I can't think off the top of my head.
I'll go to the first you, Commissioner.
I have one thing that actually involves, the 5 counties and Jan and Steph with broadband.
Oh, good.
Broadband, so they came to 5 counties last week, Rebecca Dilch, and her predecessor, or not predecessor, her partner, I don't know who's in. I forget her name. Anyways, they are still doing a study to see exactly where internet is offered from the standpoint of high-speed internet.
Guess what? Started in Wintersville this week.
Oh, I heard that, yes, I heard they were coming, so they did come, they made it.
They're in
South
town.
Central's there doing some stuff. So there's a lot of funding out there from the federal to do these studies to see exactly where this is at, and we need to be helping that process. I don't know, I'm gonna turn some time over to Jen and see how she feels about this and where we're at with it.
Yeah, I can tell you how I feel about it. I feel positive. We, a few months ago, got an email from the state of Utah asking us to dispute the maps that they provided us that show where service actually is and where service isn't. And so I very quickly turned that over to Kevin and Kyle and everyone else who has far more experience than I do. Who ended up moving forward with it has been primarily Kevin, because he is my go-to for all things mapping. He struggled with the technology to open that up and be able to read the information that they had sent us. Some of the information that they have sent us is drastically inaccurate. In fact, Ms. Dilge sat at my desk and told me, well, they put a tower in the backyard of so-and-so, and that never occurred. So there is a lot of work to be done. They would like for us to have it by February. Actually, they really wanted us.
I thought they wanted like now.
They really wanted it like last week.
Nice.
But they said that their cutoff is actually February, for them to be able to push it forward to the feds and then to move forward with their plan. In talking with Kevin, it is possible to get that corrected, that information corrected, now that he's been able to open it and actually look at the documents and do some things. So he is making some aggressive forward motion on that disputing. A lot of what the dispute is this is a parcel of property that now has 20 homes on it versus this is a parcel of property that only has 1 home on it. And so they're asking for actual access points for the property as it exists. And so Kevin's doing a really good job of systematically, quadrant by quadrant, going over that and saying, okay, yeah, we actually do have more than 1 house or 1 business on this property. We actually have 4. and so he then puts that data into the map that they've given him. So he is working on that, amongst all the other things that I have him running toward. So we are in process. I do think that we will get it to them, maybe not before the end of the year, but my hope is like early January. And so in working with Kevin and the recorder's office and the assessor's office, we are feeling good about that. So that's the status update. She did stop by my desk and we had several conversations about it. I informed her that there were several other things that are making forward progress. That this board has considered, that Amazon CUP is one such item. The school district being awarded what they've been awarded for their antenna project is a secondary item. The fact that they're looking to piggy that back off of cellular service with one of the big providers is a third really good forward motion when it comes to broadband services. So we're not attacking just one project, we're looking at multiple. And I think we're making good forward motion.
So NACO had a program, what the heck was that called? And it was just it was an app.
A speed test?
Yes.
Yes.
We have one too.
But is that a state one?
So that is a state
yes.
one.
State.
Okay, because NACO did it too.
For federal?
Yeah, both the National Association.
National, whatever, yeah.
And I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, but literally, you couldn't pull it up in anywhere in Beaver County.
Correct.
Anywhere. And so what I'm curious to know is if that is actually posted or transparent to a mapping system. I haven't dug into that, but is the state one tied to a mapping system?
Yes.
The automatic, so when it, like when you have service, it pinpoints
So,
where you're at?
yes, so if you do it on your phone, it says, you know, for instance, I did it at my home, so it knows that right at my home I have that much.
Right. So what's it, is it an app or what is it?
Yeah, she gave us a flyer last week. I need to get it, I'll show you what it is. And they want everybody to do it so we can actually get accurate
Right,
data.
because that's what NACO did.
Yes.
And we lobbied, because this was when we were trying to get broadband the last 30 years, you know, working on it.
Yeah.
And so we worked on it hard for that, and it was a simple thing to our national association.
It's actually a QR code you scan and it pops up in it and you run the test.
Right. So it can either launch through an app or it can launch through a web page on your phone, but that is how it runs and collects the data for the speed test. We can do a targeted campaign for that and push it out through some social media. I have a feeling that like social media probably isn't the best vehicle for that, just because if they have social media, they're probably accessing it in places where they already have service.
Well, they might be using their data, not actually.
Correct, they could. So we need to look at how we want to do that. I am scheduled to have a phone call with our marketing team, Ms. Orr, to kind of see. I want to bounce that idea off of her and see how we can go about doing that before the end of the year. So we're looking at a lot of different things for that particular topic.
Anyways, I just wanted to just update,
Yeah.
broadband is still a high priority for all of us.
Well, it needs to be, it should be
And we're
our
still
number
working
one
on that.
priority.
Yeah.
Continue on.
That's all I got for now.
Okay, you want to bounce to me now that I've got my
Absolutely.
paperwork out? So, what?
She was on my.
Okay. I'm on the governor's account at Land Conservation Board, and so they're still talking about how to fund,
Land, water, and air.
no, different one.
Oh, different one.
This is just the land
You
conservation.
need more on your plate,
I know.
Commissioner.
Anyway, this is the one where we killed the greenbelt rollback taxes during the legislative session. So, she was here. So we can go ahead and do this later.
Okay.
Come on up.
Kid, come on up in the hot seat.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning, Sheila, how are you? Okay, I've been looking through your budget here, and I just got some concerns and some questions. Because one directive that I tried to put out is that to be very careful, because the uncertainty of our future tax base and tax revenues is that we put a freeze on any kind of capital outlay. But I see, unless it's a complete need and not a want, and I see under your, kitchen equipment for $4,500, is that, explain what is that you're being purchasing there?
Okay, so, I forgot to take off those salad bars that I bought last year.
I'm wondering, that's what I'm wondering, if it's a
Yeah.
duplicate.
I think it is.
So you don't think, so we can scratch that, Ginger, would you make a note of that, I caught that, and then on the council aging bus, isn't that a grant, we're getting a grant on that?
Yeah.
Just, I wanna make sure that's clarified for the
It's
record.
not 100%.
It's not
But it's only, but it's a,
But I think.
but we've planned on, we've already
Yeah.
committed to it, so that,
Yeah.
so if other departments complain and say, why did you let her, because we've already committed to it in the past, and we were already committed too deep to be able to back out.
We were supposed to get that grant in 2020.
Yeah, exactly, no, I know it's been going for a while, but I just wanna make sure that somebody else doesn't come to question, this, why do you do it for Sheila and not us?
Is this the total amount of the bus?
Well,
That's the total amount?
that was for 2020.
Oh.
I would imagine they're gonna honor that price.
I
because that-
They need to, that's why, we signed the contract
I know,
on
I
it.
know.
So what's the grand amount? Do we know that?
How much is it?
I wanna say it's 3/4 of that,
Yeah,
it
like
seems to me
we
like.
had come up with 10% to.
Yeah, it wasn't very
Yeah,
much.
yeah, it wasn't a lot, no.
And I'm sorry, that was 2020, and I just.
Yeah,
Do
no,
we have that information
Remember.
somewhere, I guess,
I do, I'd have to.
and we can research minutes or something, because it's
Yeah.
there, but it's not a big contribution.
It's not.
But as I said, we're committed to it.
Well, even at 25%, if it was 75-25 split, that, our portion of it would be to 16.
Absolutely.
16, okay.
Almost 17,000.
And then Sheila, the other question I had is, what are you foreseeing, what major repairs have you got to do for $5,000 to your fleet?
Okay, well, I upped that because of fuel prices.
But there's a few separate fuel
Where are we at? Sorry,
down under C, under,
equipment.
if you know, if you can, under equipment supplies, you got vehicle repairs and service and then fuel, are those one and the same? Is my question.
No, I think I duplicated that.
Okay, so Ginger strike the repairs out of there, so that's another 5,000 savings.
We'll need tires for. the-
Okay, okay, so can we get by with maybe 1,500?
Yeah, I'll bet. 'Cause we
Are you
haven't-
okay with that,
we haven't-
Commissioner?
We haven't put a lot of miles on stuff.
No.
I think that the fleet, your fleet should be in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, it's gonna need like batteries and tires.
So you better, you gotta
so-
leave something.
Let's put 1,000 in there, Ginger, if that's all right. So that'll get you, Commissioner, that's your department, so. And that's the only questions that I had on her budget. Everything else is pretty much, straightforward. Commissioner Hollingshead,
No, I think it was, straightforward, like you said.
Commissioner Pearson?
No, I think we're
She's
good.
adjusting her special events too, just.
Yeah,
Well, I see that,
just
you
a note of that.
mixed a couple of them.
I took them off for the year, thinking, hopefully maybe 2024 we can bring them back.
Okay, good.
I had told the
Well, we
seniors
still
that
got,
we're trying.
we got some at-risk people, and I think you're probably right on that.
Yeah, so we cut down to just the one event, which everybody enjoys that one the most, I believe.
Yeah, I think Canterbury, by Canterbury, the best attended.
It is.
And,
But the health fair went good this year.
and your salary, increase, that's based on an 8% COLA, right?
Because, yes.
Yes, okay, that's why I just wanna make sure.
We're-
Okay, have you got any questions for the commissioners?
Well, I just wanted to let you know, I'm kind of trying to go back to qualifying again for the Meals on Wheels program.
Mm-hmm.
The state, they're still saying we're in the emergency stage, but they don't tell each county what to do as far as that goes. So, after meeting with my county and talking to everybody in the other counties, they're all kind of trying to go back to qualifying for the Meals on Wheels program again. Because as of, COVID and everything, we had no
little by little, I've been trying to get people to, you know, understand that this is kind of a homebound situation and to, find people for it. And so I assume that's okay with you guys.
Absolutely, I love the thoughts of that.
Well, I think that people, I think that's exactly what it is convenience.
It is.
And I think that the more we can get people back together, face to face,
Right.
I think it's better for the mind.
Better for everything.
Yeah,
And the body and everything
Yeah.
else.
Mind, body, and.
Yeah, I've had, a couple seniors say that they were doing it just because of the cost of everything and it's so cheap to be able to get the meals, but I'm encouraging people to come to the centers to do that.
Good, I like that.
I like that.
Anything else? Well, a comment from me, and then I'll turn it over to Commissioner. I just want to let you know that I think you're doing an amazing job, and I want to thank you for what you're doing and the way you're treating our seniors and your staff and the program you're running, Sheila. That comes from the heart.
Thank you. I apologize for being late. Got a lot on my plate at the moment and I forgot.
You're probably one of the only ones that allow me to get away fast.
No,
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
no, you go ahead. I'll finish up.
Well, ultimately, I just echo the sentiments. We appreciate all you do, because it's a big, this is a big part of our community, and to be able to help those people is just a huge deal. So maybe some outs and some activities, and so we appreciate it a lot. I appreciate it a lot.
I do love doing it.
I know your passion's there.
I'm trying.
I have to say, I wish we could get back to using the buses a little bit more and doing some simple, just round the county stuff. I have to admit, it's been pretty cool. I got my mom down in Milford Hospital, but Milford Hospital itself has been super active all during COVID with their long-term care people. They would try and do weekly things just outdoors. And
I see that bus all over.
they're
all
always
over.
doing things. They take them fishing, they take them up to just go see the leaves. They've taken them to the reservoir several times during the summer.
They've just taken riding around the flats.
Yeah, and I tell you, the social part of that and the fresh air and just getting out and appreciating the county in general is awesome. And so I think that we should look maybe a little bit more to do, there's a lot of people
I
that.
rely on volunteer drivers.
Exactly.
And I have a hard time.
Oh,
Volunteer drive.
You just heard it.
Okay, I heard it. And second of all, I did try to do a Shakespearean festival trip and stuff.
That takes up that last 3 hours,
I
of a
tried.
24-hour day. Where you want to get to sleep?
I'm sorry, Shakespeare, I wouldn't go there either, but, no offense,
Yeah.
I know I need my culture, but I'd rather go look.
And I actually love it. I actually love it.
I do too. Yeah, I thought, well, they were before, and they were, but this year prices have gone up, and when I presented it to them, everybody got that. They can't afford to do it. Because, they have to eat, and you add it all
Well,
together.
I realize I have the same issue with my brother. The mobility is hard. I mean, it's tough. People in wheelchairs or that, on walkers and that, and getting them in and out, and to try to get out of the bus and go do something else is a hardship as well.
Diane does a good job at it, though. She really does.
Yeah.
Okay, Sheila, thanks
Okay.
again.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn for lunch, and we will resume again at 1 p.m.